So I've just survived my hour and a half commute from Salt Lake City to Layton. Here looks much like anything else. Some car looking at me. But I'm about to arrive at the convention center. And Anime Banzai. Woo! So, another update, I'm going to be hosting the Great Anime Debate a little later today, so I'm going to try to record that whole panel unless someone tells me no. Otherwise, enjoy some vlogs. Alright, just my Alright, so my name is Sean. I'm going to be running this panel. If anyone's been support the videos expecting someone else, she's apparently stuck in Boston. Can't get to Banzai. So, welcome to the Great Anime Debate. We're only going to have 2 rules. No rambling, keep it under 2 minutes if you can. And be respectful.
Sorry, there's a door.
Keeping it fun. And basically, try to keep the language, respectful. It's supposed to be a family-friendly thing. All right. So basically, we're gonna have people come up and just if you have a thing you want to debate about, shout it out or come up to the microphone. Talk for a bit, and after we're done with the topic, have the room vote, raise your hands for or against. Is that pretty good? Yeah. Cool. So I have ideas that, I think we should talk about, but does anyone have next, right? It's obviously.
So is this purely anime, or could it be anything like, like conventions, anime, manga, video games, anything, or is it just anime?
I'd like to start with anime, but then if we have no other ideas, whatever. We can argue about stuff.
Do we have to do these 3 animes, or these shows that are generated in the US?
I'll allow it.
Awesome.
What exactly is like if we debate on something, do they actually hear our ideas, or?
Well, yeah, like if you want to come up and argue your point for a minute or 2, and have someone whoever wants to come up and give a counter argument. We'll just do it sort of freeform like that. All right. So who's got an idea?
How has Krillin died so many times in Dragon Ball Z and still come back to life every time?
Because he's Krillin.
Okay, so why has Krillin died so many times and keeps coming back to life?
Died 3 times. And he's been eaten once, also broken leg also. So technically you can count them.
Okay, so
but he has reasons that he's come back. He has. He's been given his mortality from elders, which was the 3rd time he came in.
okay. So
Well, the thing is, the third time he died, it kind of was in one of the movies, and the movies aren't considered canon. So technically he died twice.
okay, so technically he died twice if we're not counting the movie canon, which
That is true, he did die. But the thing is the whole GT saga isn't considered canon by Toriyama.
well, it isn't considered canon by Toriyama. Like, are we going to argue canon?
Yes, we are.
I'm just saying canon.
Let the debate begin! Do we decide use canon or use everything? That is the debate.
I just say you should want to expect that if there's blood, or spells, swords, that your main character or a character is going to die and come back. Let's just face it.
Well, I think what
Only be brought back once with the Dragon Balls.
yeah, I think
But
what
not
I'm referring
second time
to
it
is
cannot come back.
Well, the thing is
When you have
See, there's all this.
Well, was it the Anime Banzai that resurrected him?
Yeah, because
No, the first time was
First time was human Dragon Balls and Dragon Ball. The first Dragon Ball.
and then the Namekian Dragon Balls.
And then Namekian Dragon Balls.
Yeah,
So I think he's
It's
covered.
been like 10 years since I saw that show.
And then he had his neck broken by Cell in the Cell games.
And Frieza blew him
And Frieza blew him up previously. He was eaten by Super Boo.
Yeah, but their arguments for
Whether that killed him or not.
well, the getting eaten by Cell is that Bandai's Dragon Balls were different somehow.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
If someone
They were different.
They were different.
They were different.
Back here.
nobody died technically when they were in Super Bowl. It's just they had the guns absorbed. Just like when he tried to absorb Vegeta, they were just sitting around in that big ball.
Oh, I remember that episode now.
Yeah, they worked out
Like,
the.
fighting his organs.
Going down
How's it
the
going,
line.
ball?
So, I don't know, what was the point of your argument? Like,
I'm just wondering how he's coming back so many times. Like, is there something different in Dragon Balls? What's different about the Dragon Balls?
More of a question.
I just don't think he should have come back.
Okay, so you don't think Krillin should have come back as much? Well, there's an argument we can argue for.
I don't think the Boo Saga should have happened.
What was that?
I said, I don't think the Boo Saga should have happened. Should have ended in Cell.
It should have ended in Cell games.
Some people think it should have ended in Frieza.
It ruined my image of Gohan. He became Super Saiyan Man.
You leave the Great Saiyaman alone. He knows the door.
So we
I have a couple of ways of how it
more
could have
useless than Team Gohan's routine.
Well, that's another topic. We're trying to resolve the Krillin issue, so.
We're gonna like debate that, people sit up here and debate it, or what are we gonna do exactly?
Well, like, I was gonna say, like, if you wanna come up and argue a point forward and then have someone rebut, but I think we're gonna do that sort of free form.
So, well, I was just gonna actually bring up a new point. Well, this is based on Dragon Ball Z as well. So I just barely watched the new Battle of Gods. I know I didn't say the movies are canon, but whatever. I don't care about that right now. When Goku goes against the God of Destruction Bills, he's able not to do anything against him. But when Vegeta fights him, and he's only Super Saiyan 2, he lands a couple punches on him. My question is since everybody's favorite character is Goku, yet Vegeta was the one that was able to actually land a punch on him, does that mean that Vegeta's actually technically more powerful than Goku is?
Okay,
So the argument is,
we'll get to that. First, let's really solve the Krillin thing. Like, who thinks Krillin shouldn't have come back so much?
I think Krillin should be dead.
Alright, well, there's.
Let's go back to
If anybody wants to argue that fact, I'll meet you by the flag post. Okay, you need to be alive. Anybody else?
No fighting on the premise. Go across the street to the mall.
All right.
No fighting.
We'll see you next.
Okay, I'm just gonna.
Okay, so, and now we have a new topic. Why was Vegeta? Alright, well, any opinions?
He's smarter.
He's smarter.
Yeah, let's face it, Goku is.
Actually, no, he's not. I think he's had multiple occasions where he's like, you can kill this guy. No, I'm gonna get stronger. Then it gets beyond his level. Then, oh, now we got a problem. But you could have beat him out of intelligence.
Yeah.
This is,
Alright.
he's too prideful.
Dude, I got a last
And then clouds his turning on.
Yeah, I don't know what's the point of his whole character in the Cell Saga. I'm just moderating.
The legendary Super Strong. He's so prideful to the point that he refuses to fight until the very end.
Alright, right here.
You could argue that it's not that he refuses to fight, it's that he's waiting for a worthy opponent. I mean, why not that?
No, I think they state that explicitly a few times that I wanted to get stronger because I want to fight somebody who's totally cool. I'm not a loser.
Well, at least that's better than other characters.
So, honestly, I love it when the turtle sage, Master of Cheese, starts fighting and being awesome. That's just me. So I think we've put the Dragon Ball stuff to rest. Anyone else have like topic or should right here? You want to come up or just
Shows up. Let's do this.
Show us how it's done.
So I want to bring up what I call the
You're kind of
actually
feeling but
in anime.
That's what's fun.
she was sitting
And
beside
I think that we have bad anime, we have good anime, and then we have really great anime. And really great anime do not have actually in their plot line. What I mean by that is like, this is my final form. Actually, this is my final form. And so I want to raise the debate that really we can have bad anime, good anime, but the really great anime do not have actually in their plot line. Agree? Disagree?
I don't think there's a debate there.
Okay, so we've got a couple arguments right here in the orange jacket.
Okay, I think he actually can be abused, but I don't think that it's all that bad. I mean, in Naruto, we had the main bad guy who was Orochimaru. Actually, it's the Akatsuki, and it's Itachi. Oh, actually, it's Pain. Oh, actually, it's Toby. Oh, actually, it's...
Oh, actually, he's Uchiha
It just goes on and on until you get to the big bad guy. It can be abused, say like in Inuyasha, where it says, yes, we killed Naraku. Oh, actually, he's come back 5 times.
Okay, so then there's appropriate and inappropriate use of action.
So there's appropriate and inappropriate use of actually. All right, right here.
I think it depends on how it's framed. Like, if they give you enough hints about it that you could figure it out beforehand, then it's an interesting thing where you can argue about, do you think it's actually going to happen or not? If it's just out of the blue and there's no context for it, and it's really cheap and you kind of get mad at them for doing it.
I think that's just a good argument, observation.
Well, I feel it's also a kind of mind frame what you're looking for when you go in. For example, you could claim that One Piece and Naruto have a very luscious, well-developed world, and that through the characters' interactions you could develop that. But you could look at the plot and the themes that are evoked and say, hey, like, nothing really much happens in this sense. Whereas in other animes, yes, a lot of themes are touched, a lot of subjects, but not necessarily setting or plot. So I feel like every single anime, yes, you could like poke at its like really strongest parts and say, this is what it's good for, but also at the same time, this is what is sort of lacking.
Okay, so you're sort of saying that maybe
Like, it's like what kind of mind frame you go in when you're watching it, and what do you get?
for instance, like if you want to go watch a shonen anime, which has that actually thing quite a lot. I've seen dozens, so watch a lot of anime, guys. Yes.
For me, it depends. There will always be an anime that you are sentimental towards, that like started you off. Naruto, Sailor Moon, where they have that actually. But to me, if it's a show and it's like improvement, it's like, oh, suddenly I have this power and I know it. No, like if the character's like, oh, I've actually been training and like you've been able to witness it in some form, because let's face it, hopefully we're all improving in some aspect. And if it's a fighting show, you're obviously going to improve your fighting, but I don't believe in full like, magically I know this because I had this recollection memory from years back and I now remember my grandpa said to me and it makes sense and I know my nuts. Yeah,
So basically, when they pull it out of their behind.
yeah, exactly.
Okay.
You worded it much nicer than I would, but yes.
But you're, the sentiment is saying you're basically arguing that if they frame it well, it can be okay to have an actual moment.
Yes.
Also, also how I view it is sort of like, essentially an animation, it's a story. It's sort of a story and it's artistically depicted. And so you could go in, like any storybook, and just say, hey, what am I looking for here? Am I looking for these aspects of art necessarily that I enjoy? Or am I just looking for something I would in a story, like what am I gaining from this necessarily? Or am I just amused? So it depends on what kind of depth you are as a person and what you really want to gain from a piece of literature or art.
Yeah, if you could put your phones on vibrate, that'd be cool. So they don't interrupt other people. Yes, again, back there.
Sorry to keep budging in, but I think one thing that, at least for me, is something is when, at least for me, that separates a good anime for a great, is those, maybe not so much solidly defined actuallys that are more defined by how you perceive it. So the self-perspective actuallys, like for instance, for me at least, and for some people I've talked to, welcome to the NHK. You think that's about, you know, the main character trying to get pretty much stopping hikikomori, but actually he's just trying to find a purpose in life. See what I'm saying? So it's not so much of a solidly defined actually, but more of a subliminal, you know, turning around of basically a change of perspective. And I think that's how you can actually turn a good anime into a great one, by changing somebody's perspective, and in turn the watcher, the viewer.
Well argued. If no one else has anything else to say, I guess we'll go ahead and take a vote on it. Actually bad or actually good? So those against the actual moments to anime.
As described originally, I'm against it.
Okay.
Because the way she described it is the bad use of actually.
Okay, that's fair. And those who think that you can have some really good, really awesome actually moments. I think that side has it. Sorry. Anyone else have another topic they want to debate? Right here. Okay.
Okay, well this one isn't really about the anime, but it's kind of similar. It's about the Legend of Korra. Ever since the second season began, I've seen a lot of reviews and stuff online. A lot of people are saying how Korra has devolved since the first season. And I kind of get why, because it's much more emotional for her this season, because it's her family and stuff like that, not just some evil tyrant or something. But a lot of people are saying that she's actually become dumber, but I think it's actually Mako that's become dumber. Because in the latest episode, I mean, you know, this whole arc that he's been having with Asami and whatnot, it turns out it was Varric who was trying to...
Spoiler! Whoa, Jeff! Whoa!
Whoa! Sorry. Anyway.
We will burn you at the stake, Jeff.
In the latest episode, he hires the Triad to try to help him catch who is attacking Asami's ships. But in the previous episode, he identified one of the bombers of the cultural center as a Triad member, and he believes that they are involved. So why would he hire the people who he knows are involved to try to catch the people who are doing this? It makes no sense.
Alright. Let's go. Yeah, the blood darts. People get violent over their avatar stuff. I've noticed. Okay, so the argument I believe was Korra.
Is Mako getting dumber, or is
Mako getting dumber,
or is that just the writer's fault?
Or is that just the writer's fault? Or is Korra actually devolving as a character? What do we think?
Isn't it always like the writer's fault? Because they create the character, so it's automatically their fault. Mako isn't this actual person. Sorry to burst your bubble, but he's not this like actual person that they based him off of. If the authors want to make him dumber, they'll make him dumber. It's not like Mako's going to pop out and scream and be like, hey, I'm going to be stupid this season. Cool beans, cool beans. It's not going to happen. It's not the author's fault like that.
Yeah, you're right. Ultimately, I think it does come out of the author. But right here.
Something I'd like to point out on this is given the first season, where the whole thing with vendors are oppressing those who don't have that. And Korra's a big fight the whole time with, no, we're not, we're here to help you, etc., etc. And then in the second season, she uses her power to basically hold the judge hostage in his car. I mean, I'm just saying, she's going against what she was all for.
Right here.
I think just because, I mean, with the writer, you take Avatar, most of them were like preteens, and then one of the teenager was Sokka, and you had his like ups and downs, but now you've got like just this huge group of actual teenagers, and if anyone's been a teen, you've got your highlights, and then you've got your really bad moments. So I think that they're just kind of experimenting with Korra and all of them having like these really brilliant moments, and then they have really, really crappy moments. But I think they're just kind of showing that them as teenagers aren't really ready to be leaders, so they just kind of gotta be it.
Oh yeah, like that's part of any sort of like young person coming of age story. I mean, even Hank, as much as I love that first series, even he had a lot of rough spots, especially early on. Right here, orange shirt.
So when I noticed that in animes that go from a lot of action, a lot of deeper meanings to pure emotion, that people tend to start rejecting it because it's like, oh, you're being so stupid, why don't you just give up your feelings? Like Naruto chasing after Sasuke. We think it's absolutely stupid because Sasuke is a prick.
He is the team.
When Sakura Haruno went from a girly fangirl to this big tough chick, we were like, character improvement. It's just that emotions and action tend to be oil and water. You have to know how to layer it.
Yeah, I felt that way about the anime Navarro no O, which everyone else loves.
Yeah, in a way I feel just how an anime sort of defined is also defined to the freedom a writer has. Like for example, like Ergo Proxy and FLCL, like those two animes, like the writers, they literally, no one was forcing the writer to do anything. They said, hey, you know, do whatever you want to write about, do whatever you want to do. And for example, Ergo Proxy came out with like a lot of very extreme meanings. Like for example, what is the value of a human in society? What is our role? What is actual creation? What is God? And that's Ergo Proxy. And it has much more depth to that. Whereas with FLCL, they just said you could do any kind of animation you want, and he took that to advantage and started doing various animations, even to the extent of doing animation styles of South Park in some cases.
Yeah, but I think when you're Gainax, you get to do whatever you want. Anyone else had a hand raise? All right, there's a lot of argument. We're going to go
Core developing or is Manga an idiot?
Yeah, so core developing,
yes.
who thinks core developing or that it's just the writer's fault? Right here?
Well, I don't think Core is like devolving. I just think that, well, her entire, like with most, almost all the previous avatars, they kept the fact that they were an avatar a secret until like, you know, they're more matured and they can handle the emotions speaking. But Core, ever since she was like a young child, she's known that she is the avatar and that's her only identity. Whereas like the other previous avatars have like a sense of themselves and like who they are, but Core, the only thing that she's known herself to be really is the avatar, and all that she's really known is that she eventually is going to have to save the world, because that's what everybody else does. So, yeah, you can't, it's kind of, I don't really blame her for acting the way that she does, because, you know, she's not really emotionally developed for her age.
And she's got this sort of like twisted identity.
Yeah, because if you grew up your entire life knowing, I'm going to have to save the entire freaking world, and this is the only thing I'm going to be known for, I'm not, yeah. Yeah, people are like, you know, people. It's like being a child star, you know.
Yeah.
Bad things might happen. You might be like, you might go from like, you might be like, I think like Lizzie McGuire, be like, great, you know, have a successful life, or you might end up like Amanda Bynes, just like crash.
So yeah, it's like, you know, back before, you know, when she was Hannah Montana, now she's my name is Cyrus.
Yeah.
To the contrary of that point, Aang had the exact same thing. Like he had to save the entire world and did not act like that at all.
He was like a
I think her argument was that Aang sort of had like his own identity, was sort of like a prankster kid before he was like, oh, I'm the Avatar. Right here.
He was also raised by monks from like child, like that's a whole different mindset. Like you have to think if you're humble and like that's a whole. She was just raised as a normal. You get whatever you want.
I would like to point out one final thing in this, and that's one that everyone here can agree on, is that Avatar: The Last Airbender, the movie, should have never happened.
I'm not sure why. Greatest director of all time.
Everyone agrees. I don't know about that. I think if it had a better director.
I think it was off the script.
That's it, but you know.
Our kids, someone's talking.
To what you said, the thing with Aang at least is like, you know, he was raised by monks, but also when he came out of the big iceberg thingy, like he had like a sort of family. Like, you know, he had Katara and then Sokka and Appa and Momo, which is not very big. Animals are important, but he also then got Toph and Zuko and Oh, frick, I'm supposed to remember her name. Suki, there you go. He also had Suki, so he had like a family of sorts. Not Katara, Korra, there you go. She doesn't get along with her dad, her mom, it's like off and on really. The only like, she really never really had a family. Like, the closest thing that she's had to like a parent figure is Katara.
Yeah.
And that's about it.
Yeah, in my opinion, the biggest difference about Aang and Korra is Aang did not want to be the Avatar, Korra did. And also, Aang was, a kid, a kid, and Korra was violent. So,
Alright, one more and then we'll take the vote.
Okay. I think the biggest thing is just comes down to the personalities. Look at Aang. He's always been extremely connected to the spiritual side. So even if he didn't want to be the Avatar, he understood its purpose and what he needed to do. Whilst Korra, what she understands is bending, and what she understands is force, because that's what she was taught. And what do you expect out of her? Like that's all I have to say is what do you expect out of her? That's her personality. She's got a very blunt personality.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's go ahead and put the Avatar thing to best. I think we've all made some pretty good points. So, for I don't know. We lost the point of it there. Next. All right. So next topic. Anyone else have a topic they want to? Because I'll just pick something boring like fan subs versus pro subs.
I'm going to talk about Bleach.
I'm thinking that.
Okay, Bleach. You want to come up? All right, go for it.
It's not that. Whatever. Personally, I thought Bleach was great up to the point where he saved Rukia, and then after that, I felt it was kind of unfair and went straight downhill. So I feel like they should finish it and then remake it better.
So basically, Bleach was better before it was cool. Alright, so first thing I saw when that was...
Okay, so I don't think after saving Rukia, it was just bad. I think because they brought in hot guys, it got a lot better.
Oh, you're one of
That's
these...
just the opinion of a fangirl.
Ruined the show.
I think just Hitsugaya, Toshiro.
Kenpachi, come on. Kenpachi. He's the sexiest man you've ever seen.
I will agree to a point just because I love Renji, and I feel like during the Save Rukia arc, he was a lot like cooler, and you're like, yeah, Renji, this little heart like forming story, and then he became like a comic relief character. Yeah, that sucks.
I think that just happens if you have an anime that runs past 50 episodes.
Yeah.
That honestly, like the most.
One Piece.
Yeah, the most episodes I've ever seen in anime pull off is 56. 56 to 60, and then after that you're going to have just these horrible, horrible slumps in the anime where nothing's happening and it falls back.
Was there animes back there? Alright, right here.
I want to kind of support that in the aspect that I hated the bouts.
That's filler.
I don't hate it.
Okay, good
argument.
Show of hands who wants to include the filler arcs.
Sorry?
The filler arcs don't count. The filler arcs, like the bounce, the Lost Sanbato stuff, Karaka Riser, do you want to include all that? No.
Well, this is an anime.
It is an anime. I'm saying like, define.
Are we talking about the manga or the anime? Because in the anime, bouts are in there. I hate those guys. It was stupid.
Personally, I don't think it's died when they say Rukia. I think it died after, right? Yeah, after he loses his power after going, full black hair, drop dead sexy thing, right? Yeah, but I think after that point, it slowly started dying because he lost his power, dude. Just let it stop, Like, people can make their own, what's it called, ideas of like how it continues and like let them enjoy it how they want to. But after that point, then they started getting into like the full figures. Yeah, the Quincy's, and then you find out she's a mom, and then pretty arrow thing ever. It gets into this hot mess of like unattractiveness. Okay, that's very attractive people, but the plot becomes attractive. The people are still so attractive. But yeah, so just
They may have just not stopped it because it became popular. They want the money. They're an anime industry. They need to make money to produce more anime for us. And we are addicted to it. I think we all can agree that. And some of the norms actually got into it that aren't fully dedicated anime tryhards like us. Then, of course, they're going to continue it because they're still making money off of it. You have to get into the business side of it too, because business side, the writers still need money to write, and they could be working on side projects right under our noses right now. And they're probably going to kill it eventually. It's dying really fast now.
Well, the Bleach, Kubo's already announced that it's going to be over here pretty quick.
Yeah, this is the final arc.
During the final arc. I'm currently 1% because I still love Bleach more than anything. That is my jam, for lack of a better word.
I also feel like they have really good opening entries.
I have it all night. I listen to it.
So, as a thing, I would like to have another little side debate on that as to who the coolest captain is.
Okay, we'll go into that.
Yeah, but getting back to the business aspect, like Shonen Jump, I am aware that they have like a standard where if a writer doesn't make a certain amount of distributions or profits off of that like episode or something like that, they might actually deduct either payroll or start dropping them, the artists. That's why in like Japan, in the Shonen Jumps, they have like these little also fill-ins for fans to see like what they enjoyed, what they didn't enjoy, etc. So it's much more descriptive than what we have in the US, so they get opinions on that. And based on popularity and how it does, they could actually literally just drop an artist like in a week or something.
Yeah,
they have really strict guidelines for it.
Shonen Jump even told what's his face guy who does Attack on Titan to get lost, and now that show's like the biggest thing ever.
Just kind of going back, it wasn't so much that it took a dive like after Rukio arc. Like I agree that it got worse, but only because the story, like the plot holes were just like everywhere. And the things that he had developed in the Rukio arc, he totally neglected and even forgot about in the Arankar arc. And so like I would agree that, you know, if he had worked with what he had before, it could have been a good arc, but he didn't. It was just lazy writing, I think.
I think it was good up until the Riki arc because he had a set story from start to finish. But he created some little details, some little backstory in there. So when he continued it, it was a little bit more messy. And then it just continued going. He's like, oh, well, I can add this, and I can add this, and I can add this. So it just kept running and wasn't as good as the set story it began with.
Yeah. White shirt?
You know, I think the main problem is that, yeah, he had this final goal of saving her, and up to the second, or whatever, when he wants to save her, but the whole thing is that they planned this whole background event with Aizen, and it was really cool, and it's kind of, it showed you, it kind of gives you a bigger picture of what's going on, and I think the reason most of the people stop watching it is because they end off Aizen leaving, and you're like, oh god, what's going to happen next? And then you can't ignore the filler arc because it totally ruins the suspense of the show. Because then you suddenly don't want to watch it because you don't want to watch all that crap and you don't know if you should watch it because there might be something in there. But really, you can just skip it.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay, we'll take 4 more. Starting with you.
I think the problem with some animes is when they try to continue on because they're making money off of it, they forget that they forget character development, especially between two characters. In Inuyasha, between Kagome and Inuyasha, we really liked seeing, oh gosh, what an embarrassing moment between them, blah, blah, blah. And between Sando and Miroku, that was so much fun. But when they suddenly stopped developing the characters and they just had them fighting all the time, just had them going through the same process of, oh, kill Naraku, oh, he's gone. Let's look for him, oh, kill Naraku, oh, he's gone.
Yeah, but the problem with any romantic subplot is as soon as you pay it off, people stop watching.
I wanted to add though, what you said before about, there's different arcs and sometimes it just, doesn't work out, especially with fillers. And I just want to point out that it's another example of an actually moment where like, oh no, I lost my powers. Actually.
Yeah. Hey.
But in some cases, like we said, it is a great thing. I just didn't like how some of them acted. Like season 2, I liked, but mostly just near the end where it finally, got his power and everything was going back in.
The big code.
Yeah.
Okay, my biggest problem with the whole Wako Mugo arc is Ichigo should have died, and all their swords became dull, so that was just completely ridiculous. And furthermore, he should never be amazing. I mean, yeah, he got that whole level up thing, but that was just actually.
Yeah. All right, and one more.
I think that's like the problem with big action anime and manga. Like, it starts out, like a great plot and everything, and then after a certain point it gets like choppy like that, and then the villains are bigger and better to fight them, and then the good guys have to get bigger and better to fight them, and it just keeps going and going and going, and after a certain point it just has to stop. But I think the thing is, like, if it gets like too popular, they don't know when to stop, and they just like, you know what I mean? Like, continues, and it kind of like slowly kills it.
I can think of 2 examples where it just goes crazy. Has anyone seen Gurren Lagann? They're throwing galaxies at each other. And the other one I was thinking of was JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. That show ends with 2 guys punching a tanker at each other, and then it explodes. It's just so over the top and ridiculous. It's a good point. Alright, so Bleach was cooler back, when they were saving for or it was still pretty cool after. So Bleach was cool before. His hands, those, yes. And those who think that no, Bleach is still cool. We lost that one. Alright, so next topic. Right here.
So yes, I would like to present an argument between Full Metal Alchemist versus Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. Like, controversial? Okay, so
I'll make this easier.
No, here I'll go into detail why I just. Okay, so for example, what I see like more thematics used in Full Metal Alchemist. I see more motivational storylines and also historic relevance to society and history. Whereas in Full Metal Alchemist, it is, yes, true. It is based on the original manga, and also I enjoy it for its lightheartedness. So I just both like to get everyone's opinion on what aspects they think, especially of everyone who likes Brotherhood more, of what you necessarily like about it, much more than what you do in Full Metal Alchemist.
Okay, so FMA versus Brotherhood, that's happening right here.
With Brotherhood, you get a lot more time with the characters, and I think also because it wasn't trying to rush and catch up to a manga, it was actually just based after the fact, and you have a better paced anime as well. Then at least when you were watching through, it was way better paced than the original, where you had a lot of jumps, and you had a couple of episodes of filler, and it didn't make as much sense, to be perfectly honest, in the original as Brotherhood did. You also get a lot more time with Winry in Brotherhood, and I guess that makes her a little bit less of this just obnoxious side character who randomly throws wrenches.
But yeah, it's like, this is my mechanic.
Yeah, like I feel like the characters become more like people in Brotherhood when you spend more time with them.
Okay. Pink hair right here.
Oh, yeah. So I think kind of what she was saying, in the first one, it didn't really make as much sense as the second, like Brotherhood. Brotherhood explained what was going on a lot better. Also, I didn't like in the original Full Metal Alchemist how there is no equivalent in strain. It's just
people doing stuff.
Actually.
So.
I saw FMA first before Brotherhood, and FMA still made me cry my eyes out. You know, so it's not that it's bad. It's just that, yeah, the character development is so much better in Brotherhood. FMA is still emotional and wonderful and it's hot and all, but Brotherhood just gives you more of every good aspect that FMA has.
Okay.
For me personally, I thought Brotherhood was irritating to watch because they went chibi like every 30 seconds. So I'm watching it and it's like this big dramatic scene and then after he's done fighting it's chibi. I'm like, come on! Like, leave the like, it just ruined the mood all the time.
Yeah, just kind of go from what she said. I would have to agree. I mean, to me, Brotherhood felt, as Game Grumps described it, tropey as F. I mean, it seemed like a lot more cliche-ridden than the original. And like she said, like there's a lot of things that spoiled the mood. Like I didn't like how, I can't remember her name, but Edward's mentor. I didn't like how her illness was, I didn't like how in Brotherhood it seemed like her illness was played up for laughs. Like that's kind of the impression I got. Whereas in the original, it was taken much more seriously.
Well, yeah, I think the original series was had a lot of
I think it comes down to like what's your personal taste. Like, do you want something that has more of an expansive world, more character? Do you want something that's more mature, that's more thought-provoking in nature? That's what the first series was. That's why.
Okay.
I just want to point out the only thing that I really didn't like about Brotherhood was Mal's voice.
I don't know what you want.
It was a little weird. It was a whiny voice.
I am so glad I'm not going.
Well, playing devil's advocate here, like on Brotherhood, I know that the original writer, I think he wrote Silver Spoons, and he's actually known for very extremely lighthearted, very comedic actually works. And Full Metal Alchemist was actually his first series of works, and where he was sort of starting off that tone. And some people I feel got confused by what he was trying to say with that tone before he developed later on in Silver Spoon and other writing. And so Full Metal Alchemist was actually not intended to be taken seriously at all. It was just intended to be just an adventure story. That's how he was starting it out. And that the producers who made Full Metal Alchemist put all that, their own ideas, their own meanings, and felt that they could go a different direction with this.
So yeah, once they got to the manga, it's like, well, we're just going to do our own thing. Okay. Anyone else? Alright, so we'll take a vote. Full Metal Alchemist, the original series, is the better one. And who thought Brotherhood was the awesome one? Oh wow. It's pretty close. I think Brotherhood is that.
Like them both.
Okay, and who thinks they're both awesome?
They're both great, but the debate is which one is better. Speaking about debates about what's better.
Well, let's get to the fighting. Which one had better fighting?
Brotherhood, because I think, I don't know.
Frozen at the same time.
Graphics are also better too. That's also because it came out before. So, but still.
Personally, I feel like they download the graphics, hit Brotherhood, so they can get it out faster.
I thought so too.
Yeah, because if you watch, if you just, I don't know, pull a picture of a Full Metal Alchemist, Full Metal Alchemist has more, I guess, realistic,
Well, visual fidelity, like more little tiny details. With scratches on the wall.
It's another thing too, like, what I like about the original was that it's more like its own thing, rather than like the second one where it's trying to be as much like a longer as much as it can. Yeah.
Alright, but I think we settled it. Who has anything they want to talk about? Let's get someone.
Kira versus L, the legendary debate.
Kira versus L.
Elaborate.
That means being more specific.
Could you elaborate slightly?
Which one is more strategically prone?
They're equal, that's the entire point.
I think
of choices between Kira and L.
in the end,
Which is
she's
what
not
I've
gonna
always
die.
thought. No, I mean, he should have died.
Yeah. Elle died, so.
Obviously, you planned it out well enough.
Yeah, QED.
No, Elle would not stoop to that level.
No, I mean,
Elle wouldn't have
Elle,
done that.
the thing about Gary is he didn't actually make any mistakes. I mean, he killed Elle. He was going to win against Nia except for his underling, who did not follow his orders. And because everything was not going as his plan, his perfect plan went, he died. And that wasn't really his fault, I suppose.
Actually, it would be his fault for choosing imperfect underlings.
Well, was it really imperfect? I mean, like, the plot point to get to that mistake was ridiculous, because the guy was just like, oh, look, let's, what was his name, the white-haired guy? I can't remember. Near, like, he was, like, God mode enabled. You're like, come on, how do you know this?
I gotta admit, that is the most dramatic potato chip eating ever.
You'll find no argument from us. You wouldn't have an actual argument. That was pretty quick.
I think in the end, Elle just wanted to find out for himself, you know, is he Kira? And by being held in his arms, which was so wonderful, he got to see that evil smile, and he knew, and he's like, yes, I was right. And I think that was just enough for Elle, that he was right.
I'm pretty sure Elle knew the entire time.
Yeah.
He just
He
wanted
just
to be with Kira.
The evil smile.
He had some weird fascination with light and just wanted to be with them, obviously. If you catch my drift. There's always just a gay romance.
Yeah, I think. Whoa! I thought that was the point. Like, well, but
When I think, I usually got it right.
95% isn't good enough. But you have to be a perfectionist.
I'd like to bring in a sort of side topic, side debate here. Whereas, like, what are the moral justification of Elle and Kira? So essentially, the whole utilitarianism of their actions.
So basically, you know, sort of like the Kira as a good guy argument.
Kira's a good guy, bad guy, and also same thing. Like what?
Well,
yeah.
Let's solve the first debate first
Okay.
before we go off on a tangent.
Oh, no.
What was
Oh.
the first base?
Elle or Kira, who is the coolest? Those Elle?
Coolest or
like smartest, more strategic? Smartest, more strategic Elle. Raise the hands, Elle.
Elle.
I like her.
Raise your hand.
That was epic, but
And you thought,
I know Kira won. I
yeah,
still
you
thought that
thought
was
Light Yagami was like the biggest, awesome, weird speed people like that.
Oh yeah.
The back row is awful Kira.
Those colors are the greatest there. Just saying.
Yeah.
And those who think they're even.
Okay. Yes.
They're really.
Okay, the middle row again. All right, so.
Kira had it.
Yes.
In regards to his comment, I want to say Kira was a good person until the moment he killed a police officer or an innocent person.
Yeah, there you go.
At that time, everything he's done up till then became wrong.
I'm going to make a slightly unpopular argument, which is that Elle ends up being a bit of a bad person.
Hold on.
I'm going to make an unpopular argument, which is that Elle ends up being a bit of a bad person because he has so much evidence to support Light being Kira that he should have honestly just offed him a lot earlier than he did.
So you're saying if Elle
That
wasn't.
honestly, he could have saved a lot of people. It was a risk. It was something that he could have done. But that's one of the things that Elle doesn't do enough is taking those sorts of strategic risks. That he sort of tries to
Oh, yeah, it's known as the gambler's fallacy. Like if you're pretty sure, go ahead and bet on black, but occasionally you will lose on red.
In regards to that, Elle was negative, okay? He followed everything by to innocent until proven guilty. He knew Light was Kira, he did from the get-go, whatever. But until he had solid evidence, he was going by the rule innocent until proven guilty. He wouldn't progress. And that is his downfall, it's his arrogance. That's what killed him.
But is that less or more of moral choice than Kira's, make the world a better place by forcing people to get it?
With regards to her comment, it's easy for us to see from our perspective, yes, he has enough evidence to totally take this to court and win. But from a character's perspective, you know, this is just some random, recently graduated high school kid. It's nothing special. Yeah, he got good grades, but how could he kill people like this?
If I remember, there was specifically a line of dialogue when they first meet, where he says like, "I'm 75% sure you're Kira." So like, he was at least that sure. You know that. They stated explicitly.
That's what their team says, that he makes up every single statistic he uses.
Any other arguments? Moralism of Elle versus Kira?
This is a little off of the Elle versus Kira, but at the end, how Lisa's standing on like the end of the subway, do you think she jumps or just doesn't kill herself? Lisa kill herself.
Yeah, women were very abused in the manga.
Oh, dude. Yeah.
Don't even get started.
Do we want to start a side debate about abuse of women in Death Note?
So we have a side debate.
Exactly.
And then we can debate captains debate. I tend to get that.
Well, I feel like that, essentially that what L did, his intentions, what Kira did, his intentions were not really prevailed, in a sense that he limited what sort of it is to be human. When a person has a choice whether to be right or wrong, that's sort of what makes them human, and that's what makes our society function. Whereas if you eliminate that choice, then you're really not being humane. You're not offering the person full potential of actually being a person, if you get what I mean.
So I'm going to argue that both Elle and Kira are immoral in the first place. One, it's immoral to kill anyone. I mean, it goes specifically against Kant's categorical imperative in the first place. And then two, Elle knew that Kira was a serial killer, Light was Kira, and he knew that from the get-go, honestly, and he had the chance to imprison him. And by not doing that for his own personal gain, that is immoral. So they were both immoral.
I think the main difference between them is motive. Elle was trying to save people. He was trying to save people from being killed and doing it in the most fair way to the people he was trying to prosecute possible. But Kira, he was killing everyone, not to make the world a better place, but to make everyone easier to rule so he could be their god. So.
I don't know, you could argue that he
I think it kind of boils down to almost an arithmetic versus feelings debate, because we know that every day that Elle waits on Light, there are 50 to 60 people dying somewhere because Elle's just waiting, and Kira kills more people every single day. So even if he isn't 100% sure about who Kira is, the faster he gets Kira out of the picture, then the fewer people die. It's just this constant stream of people who are just dying in the background of this story who could have been saved by a quick move. And if it's the wrong move, then you lose one more person. But it's almost something I would call a justified wrong move.
Alright, we'll take two more.
Alright, Light's moral side, personally it's messed up, but the reason why he started is because he started, if you all remember, is because he was about to see some woman get raped in the middle of the street. So he saw that the justice system wasn't working, the bad guys were getting away, and that's the whole reason why he wanted to start now. Yeah, he was corrupt from the start because he did start out saying, I'm going to become a god, which honestly, anybody would think that if they had the power to rule like that. And also, he was a man of action, so until the point where he started killing police officers and anybody that threatened him, I stood with him.
I think the entire point of this series was that there is good versus evil, but which one is it? Both can be so easily distorted and manipulated into the opposite or into neither, to the point where they're neutral. You're neither good nor bad, you're just this. And both Elle and Kira represent this distortion in good intentions turns bad, and vice versa.
other arguments on the moralism of Death Note? Well, we'll go ahead and take the vote. Those who think L's actions were moral, right, go ahead and raise your hands. Two. Great. Those who thought Kira's actions were moral. And third option, those who thought they were both right. Right. Or wrong. They were all both wrong. I did not expect them to both. They're both wrong. All right. Well, we've got less than 5 minutes. I don't think we have enough time to start on another topic. So, really got a sense of. All right, cool. Well, I hope you enjoyed it. Give feedback on the angles. Drop it off. Thanks for coming to the Great Anime.
Dude.
Shining light.
Website.